There we go. We're live. Coaching Wisdom Podcast with Javier Cuesta. We had a nice pre-conversation. Me and Javier are both into coaching. Javier is also into VC. He's founder of a couple of companies as well, and he's an exec at Bedford and Bailey management consulting company. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about startups. We're going to talk career and salaries, everything in between. Javier, welcome to the pod. Honored to have you on. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Well, thanks for the nice introduction, Charles. So as you said, I am the managing partner for Bedford and Bailey. That's an executive search firm. And also we do executive coaching for a lot of professionals around the world. Myself personally, I started my adventure in the United States back in 2014. I'm originally from Spain. And at that point, I was kind of opening up a new office for a multinational that I was working with. And since then, I've been operating in the US market or from the US market with the rest of the world, but mostly the US market. And yeah, I'm an executive coach for one of the top business schools worldwide called ESA. There's a partner business school called IPADE, but it's also in Mexico. And there's a lot of Mexican people that they would know IPADE as well. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm definitely looking forward to discussing with you anything related to opening up new businesses, as well as international careers, salary negotiation, whatever you feel that's going to be more convenient for the audience.
Right. Well, first, thank you so much for being here today. Yeah. Did anyone ever told you that you look like Ryan Reynolds on your LinkedIn?
You're the first one to tell me, but I appreciate that.
I won't be the first one after that one. Yeah, you look really close to him. An AI would say the same. Hopefully, and he's been really successful entrepreneur, like really surprising the success that this guy has got in the last couple of years. I really look up to him, although I don't enjoy his acting skills. For what you're doing nowadays, execs, sometimes they can be tough to coach because by nature they always want to do things differently and in their own ways. They are there mostly because they didn't listen to what the crowds would tell them. So how do you go with coaching an exec that can sometimes not listen fully to what you have to advise to him?
Well, I think that the secret of coaching is that the coachee needs to be open to coaching. If someone is not open to coaching, he or she is not going to be coachable, right? Obviously, you could be open to coaching and then you may not be the best listener, right? So active listening is actually one of the skill set that is critical to work when it comes to be a good leader, right? Active listening could actually be worked with your coach. Once you are aware that you need to work on your active listening, and that will give you so much value with your people and also with your clients, then if the person really if the professional really wants to improve in something, improve their career or whatever personal life, then they will be more aware of how they could be more or better listeners, right? But at the end of the day, everything starts with the listening.
Which is tricky also. One of the best CEO listeners that I've seen, and she's a crazy accomplisher, Ginny Rometty, the ex-CEO of IBM. I suggest the listeners to go listen to interviews with her. She's such a good listener. She paraphrases what people just told her and so forth. She was CEO up until 2020 and led IBM to crazy growth. On the other side of the spectrum, I think, Ginny level is like 0.0001%. And then there's Elon level, which is about 13.0 until you get the 1%, which is pretty much alien level type of CEO-ship. Although he's not CEOs of most of his company. But I think it's fair to say that Elon doesn't listen to too much people. What do you have to say to that? And he's the most successful man in the world from a business perspective, made tons of money while not listening much to what others had to say.
Well, there are, as you have better say, there are a lot of people that they are not like Elon, right? Elon Musk, I think, is a visionary. And I have to say that, to Elon, everyone wants to speak with him. So he might be very selective on the things he wants to discuss, or he wants to listen to the things that he doesn't want to listen, right? When you get to that level of success, you should be one way or the other advice. At some point, you should be open to listen. The thing is that you may have selective listening. I would say it's not that he's not a good listener. I would say that he's very selective with the people that he wants to listen. But at least, that's only my opinion.
Sometimes you deal with CEOs and, like really high performant people that are in job transitions. They're really much in demand, just that it's not a good fit with their current companies. How do you help them find the next big job at this public company? Let's say you're the middleman, arguably, between that company that's potentially looking for a CEO and this company that might transit out that CEO. How do you deal with that?
Well, first of all, I need to understand why he or she would be open to move, right? What are the reasons? What excites him or her? There's so many times that the executive that we reach out to, he or she's happy where he's at, but they have the openness to actually listen to the market to see if what the market could offer is actually better than what they've got, right? And at the end of the day, it's all about listening what they have and what they would like to have, and compare those scenarios. I think you need to be, it is said in the industry that sometimes executive search people tend to sell positions, but at the end of the day, it's not about selling. It's about clearly position a job and telling them the truth. It's not gonna be easy. Just tell them. If the situation is, we meet a turnaround situation where the company is losing tons and tons of money, and there's a high risk that even though you join them, this would not work. You need to tell them. They need to be an expert in what they are supposed to be, and they need to be the ones that need to assess if what they have in hands is actually something interesting for them. And it might be impossible for a lot of people, but it might be attractive for them. And but it has to be their judgment, right? And their previous life experience should tell them if this would be a good job for them or not. I don't think that there are great jobs or bad jobs. I think it's just a matter of a job that fits someone's profile. And when you have that fit, even though the situation might be impossible and there might be a lot of risk for everyone else in the world, this person might feel that the role, it's interesting for them. So at the end of the day, it's understanding what they're looking for. Sometimes if they are in transition, they are unemployed, then they might be less selective in looking for other roles. But again, if you are in career transition, I always recommend not to get the first job, but to get the best project for your career, because sometimes executives at that level, they just take one job and then the other and then the other, and they are kind of in a rat race. They're always continuing to getting new jobs, but not being really successful. And when I mean successful, it's not about results, but it's also about the personal satisfaction. If we are spending 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day doing the work that we love, we better work on something that we really love, and we are really passionate about. If not, life might be meaningless.
That's why folks come to you. Obviously, they cannot break their contracts, but first my brain was like, okay, maybe they should take more time. But second, they don't want to be laid off. They don't want to have that on their CV. So that's why they're not taking their time and they're hopping from job to job. But instead, they could just hire an agency like yours, and that agency would shoot them a bunch of options to what could be potentially a very good fit for them. So let's say that I have a passion for health on my side, and sports. Well, if you could place me as a CEO in that next big biotech company that's going to be worth 5 to 10 billion in a couple of years, hopefully if I reach my goals, I can make great money, possibly at least $1 million per year. Plus I can do what I love. So like that's a 2-in-1, and I can have a home run from that. When I have a home run from that, I guess the challenge is knowing when to retire or when to move from this company to the next. Is it like a 5-year cycle? Is it like, oh, I reached this next big ambitious goals and I feel that I'm about to reach burnout if I reach for more? Is it kind of mental fatigue? Like, when should I leave this company as a CEO to find my next big thing?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think there's an exact time. I think it's more about how motivated you are with the things that are coming next, right? When someone has been very, very successful, I think one question is, what can I do in my career that could be more successful than what I did before, right? Some people they don't find that motivation, and that's okay. They could do some other things that may feel that they are satisfied for. But what makes you happy, it could be a lot of things. And when you reach a milestone that could, you don't need to work one more day in your life, at least for money, then the question you need to do is, what do I want to do with my life? What time should I invest in my professional career, or in a executive position like the one that I was executing? And there are CEOs that they go from one company to the others, and there are CEOs that they want from an executive position to a more advisor or professor or just consulting type of role, while they expand in other activities that they were not able to do when they were executive for that company. So it could definitely vary.
Last question for you, because we're almost done on time, Javier. So you mentioned on your LinkedIn, you have children, you enjoy watching movies, you love sports. As a CEO, how do you stay equilibrated? How do you stay balanced so that you can scale and grow 1% on a daily basis?
So at the end of the day, is setting the goals, right? What goals do I want to set for this year? Once you get into that, then you decide how are you able to make those goals? Okay, because for the same goal, there are people that they need to work 100% of the time. They need to travel 75% or 80% of the time. And the same, someone else for the same objective could actually have a different work-life balance. To me, spending time with my family, traveling, the more the possible to be successful with my clients, but the least the possible to miss days from my little ones. Right? I have a 5, a 3, and a 4 months old, and I want to miss their childhood. For me, it's just very, very important. So, and those are my values, and they might be completely different than someone else. So at the end of the day, is once you set your goals for the year, is how you want to do it. And I think you need to be aggressive with your goals, but also you want to make sure that you don't commit what what is important for you in your life. If family is important for you, then what will be the strategy to set the goals, right? So I think it's just a matter of integrating personal into your professional decision, right? If your personal motivation is making or practicing a sport, you want to, make sure that you have at least, I don't know, 3-4 weeks during the year that you want to practice a sport, then that should be fine. But it's, at the end of the day, it's, once you set that milestone, that goal, set the strategy that will make you happy. If family makes you happy, then spend time with family. If the sport makes you happy, then spend time. If traveling makes you happy, then whatever your pleasure are, make sure they integrate it in your professional goal.
Javier, thank you for the time you spent with us today. Where can people find out more about you?
So I also have my YouTube channel and I have my LinkedIn profile. So anyone that wants to understand what their professional goals are, or they want to look for a professional in the market, you can reach out to me through my LinkedIn profile or on YouTube or whatever you feel it's more convenient. You have my website is bedfordbailey.com. So there's also